In a stunning turnabout, City of Chicago lawyers settled a lawsuit Friday in the midst of closing arguments of a civil trial into whether a police code of silence allowed a Chicago cop to drive drunk without fear of consequences when he killed two young men in a fiery crash on the Dan Ryan Expressway. The development came as the lawyer for one of the victims of the 2009 wreck neared the end of a blistering closing argument in U.S. District Judge Virginia Kendall's packed courtroom. For nearly 2 hours, attorney Timothy Kavanagh had hammered at how a code of silence in the Chicago Police Department protected veteran homicide detective Joseph Frugoli, an admitted alcoholic, throughout his 2-decade career. In fact, the code had even seeped into the trial, Kavanagh said, when it was revealed earlier this week that the city had failed to turn over crucial documents showing Frugoli was involved in an alcohol-fueled bar fight as a young patrolman in 1992. Kavanagh then told the jury it was time to talk about damages, but the city's attorneys suddenly sought a sidebar. After both sides huddled with the judge for more than 10 minutes, Kendall called a recess. During the break, relatives of the victims were seen weeping and hugging one another. When the judge returned, she announced that the case was over. "The good news is, there is a settlement," the judge said as jurors looked on curiously. "The bad news," she said, was that a settlement meant they wouldn't get to deliberate after hearing nearly 2 weeks of evidence. The amount of the settlement still needs the approval of the city council. Neither plaintiff's attorneys nor the city would comment on what could potentially be a multimillion-dollar figure. It marked the second time in a little over a year that the city has suddenly settled a case involving code of silence allegations. In May 2016, the city abruptly announced on the morning that jury selection was about to begin that it had reached a $2 million settlement in a lawsuit filed by 2 Chicago police officers who alleged they were blackballed by department brass for blowing the whistle on a corrupt narcotics sergeant. Speaking to reporters Friday after the trial's sudden end, Kavanagh said the settlement showed the code of silence continues to have widespread and tragic ramifications for victims and taxpayers. "It's very unfortunate," Kavanagh said in the lobby of the Dirksen U.S. courthouse, flanked by relatives of the victims, Andrew Cazares, 23, and Fausto Manzara, 21. "The code of silence has to end. This family has been victimized by it. It's time for the city to take responsibility and get rid of it." Attorneys for the city had argued during the trial that the code of silence was not a factor in Frugoli's decision to drink and drive. In an emailed statement Friday, Bill McCaffrey, spokesman for the city's law department, said the city considers many factors when deciding whether to settle a lawsuit, including the likelihood of an adverse judgment. "This lawsuit is no different, and we will recommend that it is in the best interests of the taxpayers that the case be settled," McCaffrey said. The trial was upended Tuesday when it was revealed that the city had failed to divulge evidence months ago that Frugoli had been arrested and suspended for 5 days for a fight at First Base Tavern in Bridgeport in 1992 while just 2 years on the job.